chuffy one too. There should be no reason why this shouldn't work. Don't say that. Don't say that. It's 3 minutes to 8 p.m. GMT. The kilobytes are rocking and rolling. They're okay. They're fine. They're fine. Kilobytes are fine. Chat room is pre-popped today. Pre-popped. I've never done that before. Don't know if it's going to work. It should work pre-popped, shouldn't it? Should be fine. Should we just turn it off and on again? Because I'm just... let's re-pop it. Let's re-pop it. Just to be sure. Just to be sure. Just to be sure. Since we're here 3 minutes early, let's re-pop it. Make those fit nicely on the screen there. What's different? There's a few little things that are different. Before I do the intro, I've been saying it all week. There is, look, podcast studio is now fully set up. You've got this camera here. Oh, magic camera. That's now pointing at not a dog bed today, but a little sofa with a cushion with a doggy on. And that little sofa, if I pick up this camera and just move it around, you'll be able to see, look, that's a little podcast studio set up. Look, chairs, little sofa, microphones for everyone. This is a light. Look at that in that corner there. It's nice, isn't it? It's nice. That's the same. That's here. That's where we are. Look, hang on. Same thing, isn't it? Look. So it's the same. Oh, it's on a bit of a delay. Right. Oh, that's enough cheering me up with that. Let's put it back there. You can also see the dog bed. Whee! But there's no dog in it, so no dog in it. You're just getting the cushion. Dog cushion. If the dog's not going to join us, you get the dog cushion. That's that. So these are. This is huge improvements, isn't it? Do you remember when I first started streaming? Do you remember when we first started streaming, and all we had? Oh, bear in mind, everything's been moved out of the room. There's a carpet. There's a new carpet. Yay! That's a big improvement. New window. That's an improvement. This is all now set. This is all good. But I had to move everything and put it all back. So the camera's not in exactly the same place as it was before. And now you can see the radiator behind me over my shoulder, and there's a bit of a shadow cast from the light. That wasn't like that before. And you can see this little corner of this. I've got to move the camera about and change with the zoom, and I've got to fiddle with it. I'm happy enough. Happy enough. I'm not going to get myself all worked up about it now. The framing could be slight, but otherwise, do you see how far we've come? We've got second camera, which at the moment is doggy cam, but could be guest cam, couldn't it? Could be guest cam. Second camera. We've got the podcast all set up. Those microphones over there run to this desk here. All of this is thanks to patrons. All of this is thanks to subs. All of this is thanks to tippies, chippies. All of this is thanks to you. And we've not got a guest yet. We're still going to do a dry run this week. We want to do another one. I want to just edit it and check it and see it all. I don't want to just be like, oh, let's just run and someone sit down. Hi, nice to meet you. Oh, it doesn't work. Oh, I couldn't hear you that time. Oh, what's going on? I don't want to do that. I want to make sure it's all working properly before we get, a guest, not a stranger, but a nice new friend that I haven't met before, a guest come and sit here and be the guest. So we will get to that. We'll get to that. Hopefully by the end of the year. Hopefully this month will be dry runs. Next month will be full steam ahead. And yes, that's happening there. That all looks lovely. Thank you very much. Very happy with that. Very happy with that we are. Got my little... Oh, it's officially 8 o'clock now. Got my little... Look, it's a cup with Marlow on it. Oh wait, I'll do this. This will make it easier for you to see it. There you are, look. Whee! Look at that little cup with little Marlow on it. Everything but the dog today. And that's chocolate, but I made it myself, so I put loads of the spoons of the thing in. It's like, how many spoons do you need? Oh, I'll probably need more than that, I think to myself when I read their instructions. I'll probably need more than that. You load it up, don't you? So, can this fit? Do it like gravy. Thick like gravy. Chocolate. Warm chocolate. It's not hot chocolate, it's just warm. Medium warm. Quite lukewarm. Relative room temperature chocolate, that is. It's quite nice. You might want to get yourself a little drinky or a little snack. We are into Mental Health Monday. I'll do you like this. We all like this. You like that. But now I've got to do it in front of this one as well, so I can see how to fix this. I shouldn't shout at the same time, because you'll need to just have a nice clear... So we've done that. You like that. Hi, you're with Scott. It's 8 p.m. GMT. It's wait, hang on. That's my own bit. This is the bit that I say. I know this bit. Hi, you're with Scott. It's 8 p.m. GMT. It's Mental Health Monday. It's midnight. It's always midnight. It's not midnight. It's 8 p.m. GMT. This is your right ear, and this is your left ear, and this is like both ears. What are we doing today on Mental Health Monday? Look, you can see the little wind. See how slick and pro I am. See how slick. Hiya, nice to see you. Nice to see you. You, nice to see you. Slick this week. See, slick this week. Got it all sorted. What we're doing this week is we're talking more about stigma, discrimination, and how to challenge it. Following on from what we looked at last week, which was what is stigma. We've got to finish up the types of stigma and discrimination, and then we're going to look at how to challenge it, which is quite a challenging separate section in itself. How to challenge it. Should you challenge it? We're going to look at that. We've got, and that's basically, I usually have lots of websites, but that's it today. So we also got to mention these fellas, the Samaritans. They're also not fellas. That's the patriarchy, isn't it? That's the patriarchy, fellas. These fine people. At the Samaritans. If you're coming here and you're feeling a mental health crisis point and you saw this advertised as Mental Health Monday and you thought, I'll come here, I'm really upset, you can talk to us in chat. Absolutely, you can do that. If we'll just drop everything and talk to you. That's absolutely fine. We don't mind that. That's good. It's cool. We can always talk about stigma another time. There's a lot of Mondays to cover, so that's all good. But if you're coming here and I'm just chuffling on and you think you don't want, oh, why is it? And there's a number. Look, there's direct crisis point support. The Samaritans, we're waiting for your call. 116-123-2343. That just sounds like numbers, doesn't it? 116-123 for free, not for free. 116-123-43, not that. 116. Look, just you'll see it on the screen. You'll be able to read it. Lifeline in America: 1-800-273-8255. With hyphens in America. I've never known if in America you have to type the hyphens. I've never known that. They're on there on the number 1-800-273-8255. And I don't know if there's a button on the phone that does the hyphens. You don't. No, you don't. Hello, nice to see you. You just use the numbers. So yeah, of course, probably I shouldn't have said that out loud now. Now I feel silly, but it's true. And if you're deaf and hard of hearing, they've got their own facilities for that as well. So they're the emergency numbers. You've also got the emergency services, I should say that. Look, we're getting off track already. This is Mental Health Monday, but this is Ganji Kid Chuffers, look, it says at the top. That's our YouTube archive. Everything we do on Twitch, just upload it to YouTube, so you can watch it all there, because Twitch deletes it eventually. It lives there. It's the archive of the streams. I don't edit them, they just go there. But if you did want to see them edited and some fun things without all the chuff, then we've got a channel called Ganji Cuts where I actually do edit things. Ganji Kid Art Chat where I do edit things and they're art specific. Mental Health Mondays, our channel. That's that. Look, you can see it there. Here we are, all the way back round to this. So today we're going to catch up with discrimination against stigma. That's what we're doing. But since you're all here, and I've already said this once, but I'll say it again, look. Thanks very much. Look at how wonderful this is coming along. I still need to just slightly adjust the camera frame so you don't have that bit of the roof and the radiator behind me. But other than that, well, I'll show you with the little doggy cam. Look, podcast studio, chairs, microphones, table, little sofa now. That's nice, isn't it? Little doggy cushion on the little sofa, all set ready for guests. Carpet on the floor. Don't mind the wires. That's for the lights. Look at it all. It's all there, all ready to rock and roll. We're going to be rocking it and rolling it in the coming week or two with some trial runs, and then I don't feel anxious yet. I'm not feeling anxious yet, but I feel impending anxiety about just guests and running a podcast and it being good and like the wanting to make it good. And all that. So, but this is what's happening. It's good. So, thank you very much. And look, yeah, the stream itself just looks nicer now, doesn't it? The lighting, we've come a long way this year. We've come a long way, and it's still got a couple of months left in it this year. So, yeah, I think we're well on the way to a happy new year. This year is being happy. This year is being happy, and that's what we're here doing, isn't it? Mental Health Monday, trying to be happy, trying my damnedest. If the kilobytes go against us. We've been practicing this stream earlier We had a little test stream earlier, so it should be fine. It should be fine. We will press ahead. And with that said, I'll switch to the WebBubba browser, which is all prepared. Look, yeah, see? Oh, there we go. Oh, it's working. It's working. And let's catch up with what we were talking about last week. Let's just catch ourselves up. Let's just catch ourselves up. Let me check that you can hear me, because I like doing that. I mean, you definitely can hear me, because otherwise you wouldn't have been talking to me in chat and responding to the things I was saying, would you? So that's a certainty. Yeah. So stigma and mental health. When a person performs an action, whether intentional or unintentional, that creates barriers and inequality for people with lived experience of mental health problems, that's stigma and it's discrimination. So we're talking about these barriers, these thoughts. And then it came up to the types of... Oh, hello. The mouse just did a little... If the mouse goes, I haven't got any more batteries. I'll just have to take this one out and bite it. That's not a top tip. That's not a top tip. That's not a top tip. Stigma. Let's go. Let's go. Self-stigma. Well, that's an interesting start point, isn't it? Self-stigma. Oh, I've got to do all the reading again. The reading. Ready to go. Rub your hands, get them warm, ready for a good smack on the arse. Don't know where that came from either. Self-stigma is the judgment people put on themselves, which has often come from hearing and seeing external stigma and discrimination. I suppose that could play into our cognitive triangle, couldn't it? The way we think and the way we feel and the way we act, but also what we hear from the outside coming in. So yeah, it can lead people into believing they aren't capable of things such as getting a job. Or, well, actually that's true, isn't it? Because that's exactly how... I took that off so I could hear myself say it. That's exactly how I feel. I feel like I can't get a job. Or like... I mean, I've had a lot of experience at being fired. Or going into further education. I didn't like going into the building. That was the bit I didn't like. I liked the concept, didn't like going into the building. This can result in a withdrawing, feeling frustrated, angry experience, low self-esteem and lack of confidence in the future. As a result, many are at risk of defeating their own personal goals and ambitions. That's interesting, that is. So you self-stigmatise, so you discriminate against yourself and you sort of say, I can't do these things, I'm not going to be able to do that, I'm not having that. So then you're staying in more, obviously, you're not talking to as many people because, you know, why would you? Because chuff it. Never lasted more than 12 months in the job. CVs for the likes. Yeah, that's exactly my experience until I was self-employed and then no one could fire me. That was the bit that changed for me. When I was in charge of doing the hiring and the firing, suddenly I couldn't fire myself. So I had to put up with all the worst things I'd do. I'd just be like talking to myself in the office like, come on, mate, this isn't good enough, is it? And I'd be like, oh, don't worry, mate. We're having fun. Look, anyway, I didn't talk to myself. I didn't have an office. All the rooms were occupied with hairdressing. This can result in them withdrawing. So you feel bad. You feel frustrated. You're angry. That's not in a position where you're going to go and get a job, is it? And do well. And that starting point of saying to yourself, I'm not good, and then you're feeling bad. That's the start point of self-stigma. We can kind of recognise that. I bet even the people who excel can recognise this, because it's part maybe of that start point, that the starting of the fire, something to fuel that fire in yourself, to say, hang on, well, you know, like I was just saying about having a chat to myself in the office. Made art consistently, so yeah. Yeah, I agree with that as well. As long as you're creating, you know, and it's not up to society to ascribe value on how you value your time and creation. Yeah, absolutely. And ramen's fine. Ramen's fine for dinner. For breakfast, nice bit of ramen. No, art can be quite profitable as well as valuable. Oh, yeah, look, I'm turning to stigma. You've never been fired. Yeah, I knew you wouldn't have been fired. You're good. You're good, aren't you? I knew you'd never be fired. Quite often I got fired without getting to tell them what I thought as well. And then the concept of going back to tell them what I thought, no, I just never wanted to do that. I was just always like, I'm glad I'm not there anymore. So I'm not going to go back, even if it'd be like, oh, I'll go back and I'll get my revenge. No, I'm well away. My revenge is that I don't have to be there anymore. But also, you've got a job where you feel valued. I hope. I hope. So, let me go back to stigma. It can lead people into believing they're not capable of things. They defeat their own goals. And I was saying that no, you can't have good girl regrets. If people aren't allowed to have bad people regrets, I'm not going to say bad, but bad boy, even though it's alliterative. If you're not allowed to have bad people regrets, then you're not allowed to have good people regrets. You can't regret being good. It's good. It turns out the people who regret being bad they regret it because they thought they should have been good. So, yeah, it swings and roundabouts. And sometimes you get to go down the one that goes round in a spiral. Anyway, look, bottom of that spiral is self-stigmatization. It's being mean to yourself. And I believe that is where you can fuel the fire, because you're saying to yourself, these bad things. And when you get a hold of yourself doing it, you can say, hang on, mate. Oh, hang on, kilobytes, is it? No, kilobytes are back, right? Kilobytes are back. You can say to yourself, hang on, look, I'm not having this anymore. If it's just down to you and me talking to myself in the office, just, if you're having this chat to yourself, then you have to say to yourself, look, I'm not going to, at least I'm not going to sabotage what we're trying to get, progress for in the future. At least I'm going to start by saying to myself, right, grab myself by the scruff of the neck and say, look, we're having a crack at this. We're having a crack. So self-stigma can lead, in my opinion, to the fuel that it takes to build that confidence for the future. So that's ironic, but you've got to believe that. Stigma by association. Someone connected to people with mental health problems, e.g. a family member or friend who experienced stigma as a result of this association. Quite often, I'm trying to be jolly through Mental Health Monday, but this is one that actually instinctively makes me feel sad. Isn't that sad that people get bullied because someone that they love suffers with a mental health problem? Isn't that sad? Isn't it sad that someone who, yes, I'm not going to create lots of examples of it. I'm sure you could create your own example of it in your head. Someone has a mental health problem, someone that they love, someone in their family ends up being thought of negatively, discriminated against. And it's not even that they're just like, maybe they're the son of or the daughter of, or maybe they are the, brother or sister of. And isn't it, the reason it's sad is because they've got difficulty anyway, haven't they? They've got this thing that they're dealing with as a family. They're probably someone who's suffering in some way, and then they should be made to suffer more through societal stigma. That doesn't sound right. Structural stigma. When the rules, policies and practices of social institutions restrict the rights of and opportunities for people with mental health problems. Sorry, I've got to read your chat as well. All the paths have their good and bad bits. Yeah, that's true. Except for the wait, no, I'm saying that. That's not quite. Wait, I'll just fine tune that. Most in general in our lives in the real world, yeah. But like Jesus wasn't supposed to have his bad bits, was he? The path of Jesus was supposed to be all plain sailing. Although we will go big phrase for a second, because I know, and Navin from beyond the grave there, the cushion. That was what he used to look like, Navin. Navin from beyond the grave there. We know that Jesus wasn't all good, don't we? What did I say? Wait. Jesus, in the Bible, they wrote the bits that they said it was, okay, you have that. Well, do you know about the Bible, the Gospel of St. Thomas? Well, hang on, not St. Thomas, just Thomas. Well, the Kelobites aren't having this. Jesus doesn't like that. Hang on. There was this guy called Thomas, and it turns out, I'll just give you an overview. I'll just give you a rough overview. It turns out he wasn't really like around when Jesus was around. The things he wrote were probably like a contentious novel, like a story to sort of whip up some ideas and say, what about if this happened? Wouldn't that have been interesting? But because it happened a really long time ago when he wrote this, and then it's like, considered antiquity to us, people say, oh, well, it's ye olde book, so maybe that should go in the Bible as well, this Gospel of Thomas, that, maybe this one should go in, because some of them are in and some of them are out, and we make a decision and whatever. It wasn't part of the original, like, spiritual texts, so don't get me wrong. But this Gospel says, right, this Gospel says that Jesus was a little boy and he had these God powers. And I'm really going to roughly just roughly get through it quick because it's not part of Mental Health Monday. But what he did was he didn't like his teacher, so he killed him. And there was a boy, and the boy pushed him in the river. Jesus pushed Jesus in the river, so Jesus killed him. And then Jesus was trying to learn things at school, and the teachers were like, "You can't teach this kid. He's a nightmare. He'll answer back and tell us what we know." And Jesus went into all this weird mystic, like they were trying to teach him how to write the letters down, and he was like, "I know the meaning of the Alpha and Omega. I am the Alpha and Omega." And they were like, "Calm down, kid. This ain't right. Come up here and get your hand smacked." Because back then they used to do hand smacking and worse. And the teacher who smacked Jesus got the murder done on him. Well, it wasn't murder, it was Jesus murder, wasn't it? So Jesus murdered him apparently, but not really, because it was only a book that was written 600 years after Jesus. But then so were the other ones. So who knows who chose what to put in the Bible. Well, this didn't get in. But so that's Jesus, and why he might not have always been good. Growing up, he may have been unruly, but don't worry, at the end of the book he magicked them all back to life, as he learned his lesson. It's like a big moral tale as well, that Jesus learned his own lesson, you should be good. like he needed to learn that, but at the end of it he was like, "Oh, you know what, I shouldn't have killed all them," so poof, and then they came back to life. So there you go. That's the story of Jesus when he was a kid. You can verify it. Probably through YouTube. Probably. Web browser. Let's go back to the web browser. So, yeah, it was, and also, wait, Big Face. I haven't finished on that. Wait, Big Face. The Seven Seals. Yeah, I do like a bit of the old Revelations. I like to read Revelations and wonder. Yeah. Everything's game for Mental Health Monday. Everything goes here. So there's also this other concepts. Like if you were to sell your soul to the devil, for example, it wouldn't sound like it's all good or bad. There's a bit of both in balance, but no, that would end up in eternal torment at the end. So the little bit of balance that was good in the life that you had that was fun, the eternal torment bit would really extend way faster, outlasting that. So it'd be like a pea-sized blip. And really, when you were looking at it on the whole, you wouldn't go, well, there's a bit of good and a bit of bad, isn't there? You'd look at that little tiny speck of good and you'd kind of forget that because you concentrated on this eternal torment forever. So you'd think, oh, no, I don't like that. I mean, you might not believe in religion. It might all just be a bit of hoo-ha. So I'm not going to be the arbiter of that. That's up to you. But if you were in eternal torment forever and you look back and you go, oh, you probably wouldn't even be thinking about that. You'd probably mainly be focused on the eternal torment, and you'd probably say, this has been bad. Overall, generally, all of it has been bad. And they'd go, someone like the devil would probably say, yeah, but you had that. Don't you remember when you won the lottery? And you say, oh, I can't even remember that these days. I can't even remember that. You've done my head in so much, devil, that I can't even remember the good times. It's all bad. And then the devil would say, well, it wasn't much of a... didn't get much on your end of the deal then, did you? And you'd be like, are you going to torment me with that, devil? Are you going to torment me with that? And the devil said, well, that is, to be fair, that's what we're, this is the point of the torment, isn't it? You'd be like, all right, yeah, all right. I've got no complaints. I've got no. Could you do me a TripAdvisor? The devil would say. And you'd be like, what? You'd be like, could you do me a TripAdvisor? If you did say you've got no complaints, now's probably a good time to ask for your TripAdvisor. They do, don't they? They like you to do a TripAdvisor. Maybe we're all dead from COVID. This is the eternal torment. Well, then in that case, I'd better get on with it because there's no end, and I've got a lot to get through. No, this can't. It wouldn't. This wouldn't. It would be worse. My feet would be hotter. My feet would be warmer. Ancient religions believed in hell. The only escape was to, if we cease to procreate. Well. And thank you very much for the tippies. I'll smoke those in hell. No, I won't. I'm going to use them to continue funding the progression on the media product, of course. But yeah, thank you. We thank you from hell. Hell is pink. Hell's pink today, so it can't be hell. Anti-natalism. I'm pro-natalism. I am. Like pink. Look, I think it's nice. Natalism. I don't really know what the natalism. I think natalism is something to do with children, isn't it? Like if you were having a baby, you'd be in the anti. I don't know. Like yeah, those religions are not going to catch on, are they? That's what I'll say about that. Those religions are not going to catch on, because the more popular they are, the less they spread, don't they? So you're not going to be teaching that to your kids, are you? You're not going to pass that down to generations. So it's doomed to failure, that one. Doomed to failure. Let me challenge some stigma. Let's go back to challenging some stigma. Right, structural stigma. I wanted to talk about this because you have to talk about everything when you're reading these things. When the rules, policies and practices. Oh, this is a big one, isn't it? This is a big one. This is the chuffers. Today, and the followers are obviously having kids, yeah, they didn't, if Jesus didn't want you to have kids, then he wouldn't have given you I'm not going to tell you what he would and wouldn't have given you. Just be happy that you're blessed with it. Right. Look, when the rules... yeah, Jesus, that's true. The church, they're all against, the Pope doesn't... Now is not the time. Now is not the time to discuss whether the Pope uses contraception. I imagine just looking at him puts you off. Look, anyway, when the that's structurally stigmatic, what I just said, isn't it? I don't know. He might be quite a nice looker when he's not got any of his... I don't know. I'm not trying to decide what the Pope looks like naked, and it's not up to me. For my objective opinion, if he were hanging over me, even with the hat on, I'd still have to pass. But, for other people, I'm not trying to cast... it's a wide net out there, isn't it? It's a wide net, so he might, every sperm... that's going to be allowed, isn't it? Thank you for the Monty Python references, Nigel. Thank you. That's made me. That's given me an inner laugh. That if you get it, you get it. Hopefully most people do. Hopefully most people do. Every sperm is sacred. I'm not going to sing the song, right? We're looking at structural stigma on Mental Health Monday, and I'm all cheery and it's going well. Look. When the rules, policies and practices of social institutions restrict the rights and opportunities of people with mental health problems, that's huge. Right, ready for the edit? You ready? I'll focus. There you go. Focus. We've got it on the telly today. We've got it in the news today. The Tory parties, where their money's coming from. If the people think maybe they should vote for the Tory party, and then they look at these people who have been giving them the millions of pounds, it's all a bit questionable. The social institutions, they're quite heavy-handed at the moment. We are always saying on Mental Health Monday that we're hoping for more investment in mental health structure. But what is a worry is if the social institutions restrict the rights of and opportunities for people with mental health problems, then people aren't even going to want to engage with the social institutions, are they? They're not even going to want to go to the doctor and say, can you give me a little bit of help? Because they're worried that this is going to be a problem. So that's absolutely huge. And they're talking about rules, policies and practices of social institutions. So the people that make the rules, that set the policies, and then the people that perform those things, that do the practices, these are not just at high-end government, but they're us, aren't they? We're the people, aren't we? We're supposed to be the government, really. In theory, we the people. That's an American thing, isn't it? We the people. I've heard them saying it when they're looking for their votes. I've heard them referencing it, but not when they won't let you into their posh hotel. But anyway, that's beside the point. Look, we the people, look, we're supposed to be, we have to take this upon ourselves to make sure that our social institutions are not restricting the rights of people with mental health problems, nor tarnishing them with some sort of stigma that's going to see this knock-on effect of this happening. And I worry today, actually. I'll tell you what, one of the reasons I worry, because I am, aren't I? I'm on Mental Health Monday doing the old worrying. Should I bring this up? You probably do, don't you, on the news? You probably do have to if you're going to reference it. You probably have to show them what you're talking about. Oh, naughty me making it about news now. All right, where's your web browser window? Turn it off quickly so you can find the news thing. And I guess I'm just going to have to Google something like this. No, typey, come on the keyboard. Oh, thank God for that. I thought it was no keyboard day for a minute there. What is she? She's like the women's minister, isn't she? She's the women's minister for women equalities. News. Liz Truss, yeah, that's it. Okay, boom. Let's get it up and let's just have a quick look at the news. This is the news, right? It's the Daily Mirror, but oh god, I don't want you. I want to reject everything and save that and go. So it's the Daily Mirror. I'm not condoning the Daily Mirror as a it's just I really want really quickly to just show you this. This is Liz Truss, and what she's done is she's the Women and Equalities. She was the Women and Equalities Minister in the UK. This is the Women and Equalities Minister signing off £183 million cuts to women and equalities aid. So it's like one of those, like exactly straight out of 1984, where the Women and Equalities Minister has been responsible for damaging like exactly the thing they're supposed to be doing. She's been moved to a new job now, but like she's the Foreign Secretary now. I don't know. She probably doesn't like other countries. I'm not sure. I don't know what her personal feelings are about them. She probably likes the holidays. I don't know. But there you go. That's the sort of thing that I am worried about. Let's bin that off. Let's just bye-bye that. Back to this. Because we're talking about the structural stigma. Now, if you're Women's and Equalities Minister, they put these people, the Tories have got this sort of little track record now of putting people into a job where they're not like, oh, I love this thing that my job is, so I'm going to help to make it better. But actually, it's like they're the opposite of the thing. They're there to do the bad thing to the, like, they had the NHS, I think Jeremy Hunt was in charge of the NHS, wasn't it? And he cut loads of things and all the NHS people said they didn't like him. But he was like the health minister in charge of screwing up the health system. It's like this kind of weird alternative world that we live in. So my worry there is that if we do have, like, we're asking our governments, please can you facilitate more mental health support? But I worry that were they to put a minister in charge of, mental health support, that they might increasingly stigmatise those who require the mental health support. It's like if the fire brigade were arsonists. Yeah, it is exactly like that in a way. Yeah. There was another thing that she said, herself as Women's and Equalities Minister. She said that she basically weighed in on the transgender debate. And I think she said something, don't quote me on this, you could look it up on the internet, but I think she said something along the lines of course, only women have cervixes or something like that, which is deliberately incendiary to the trans women debate, isn't it? And what she's also said is that you're not allowed to declare yourself trans. This is, bear in mind, this is the Minister for Women and Equalities. You said you're not allowed to declare yourself trans, that it has to be through a doctor appointment and a diagnosis that the doctor would declare you, like, that you get an official, I don't know. Which kind of enraged some people, didn't it? And the people that it enraged were the people that she's directly put in charge of helping by, So that's a worry. Structural stigma. And we've got to do everything we can to fight that. And I'll tell you why. I was going to do a joke, but it's not appropriate, is it? I was going to do a joke. I was going to say because we've got Boris Johnson in charge. And as we all know, he's completely lost the plot. But that's just a joke, and you can't do a mental health joke on Mental Health Monday. Well, you can, and I did, so you're just going to have to suck it up. Right, prejudice. Prejudice is when people from an opinion... you shouldn't do jokes, because that's part of the stigma, isn't it? It's making jokes, isn't it? But that's a different conversation. A declaration of gender, like when the Scarecrow got a diploma in the wisdom of us. Yeah, exactly, yeah. Like, there's so many grey areas that it just doesn't... makes sense to. No, wait. I'm not going to get into the debate about transgender on today's Mental Health Monday. We know generally where I stand, which is like, you can do what you want. When it comes to going to prison, there's a bit of an issue. When it comes to weightlifting in the Olympics, I can see why there's a bit of confusion. So personally, if it were up to me, I'd be like, look, why don't we just have a trans competition? Why don't we just have a trans section of the prison where people can be who they want to be, where they want to be, where we want to put them? I don't know. It's not up to me. I'd like people to just feel like they could be themselves. That's the main thrust of this. And I know that, oh no, today's society's open up to abuse. Well, everything's open up to abuse, isn't it? Isn't it? Like, you know, do you think that everyone who's got a YouTube account is actually 18? Or do you think they abuse the system and pretend to be 18, even though they're younger than that and they're watching things on the... Did you abuse the system when you went to see the cinema before you were 18 and it was an 18 and you went in? Everything's open to abuse, mate. Anyway, look. It's just up to you to be good. That's the main thing. It's up to you to know where the lines are drawn. And going into an 18 film when you're 15 isn't... It's not like... The lines are not... That's fine. We know that. We know that. Some lines have been drawn arbitrarily and don't seem to make sense, like, you know, don't they? So we know that. Going for a walk with your dog should be allowed, shouldn't it? Even if somebody else owns all the fields and everything. Don't get me started. Don't get me started. Look, anyway, look. We're back to prejudice. We're back. I'm going to do another one of these. So in the edit, I'll just go from that to that. It should be law, dog walks. Yeah, it should be law. Roma's rights, but then don't get me started. In the UK, you've got me started now. You've got me started. In the UK, farmers own a lot of the land. It's been that way for quite a long time. And it might sound like farmers are just nice people who just live in yokelly little houses with their little thatched roofs and drive their little tractors, but they're not. They're vast landowners, aren't they? And some of them are extremely wealthy, and some of them have traded in some of that land and wealth for different things, and some of them have got extensive families, and you know, some of them have got certain ideas about how animals should be treated. Oh no, but it's all that, and like a lot of those are in with the Conservative Party, so stuff them all the chuffers. And they make the decisions, don't they? They make the decisions. They own everything and make the decisions. So what are you going to do? A lot of them, and the Queen's friends with a lot of them as well. So no, you can't even. And I like the Queen, but I don't like the Queen won't let me go wandering around. Or she will actually. Quite a lot of her places, she will let me go wandering around. So that's probably all right. I've got well distracted. Thanks for your tippies. We'll go back to the web browser. Prejudice is a word that I've always had trouble spelling. Always had trouble spelling that. Never been able to just knock that one. Just always pre-justice, but not justice. Judice. Pre and dice is in it as well. Prejudice is when people form an opinion before becoming aware of and understanding the relevant facts. What? Well, that's just people and everything they think, isn't it? Isn't that just everyone's opinions about everything? Understanding how nobody knows if they've understood the relevant facts, but they are absolutely going to form an opinion. That's just how it works, isn't it? No, okay, maybe you could slow down a bit. Maybe if you want, you could say, I mean, this is a good one. I'll tell you a good one. Big Face, a great example of this. This week in America, what the chuff is going on in America? Like this week, they're having this like discussion about whether women should be allowed to have abortions. Now, I'm not. Wait a minute. This is why we're going to look. It's why it's going to tie in, right? Number one, I thought this might have been settled by now. I thought this might have been settled. It happened in Poland as well. They repealed a law. I mean, I'm quite surprised because I think we live in a modern world and certain things I take sort of for granted, right? But bear in mind, I'm a boy, so. Despite what I said about gender earlier, and you're free to be a, you know, I don't think it's not about, I'm not declaring everyone else anything. I'm just saying for me, in my thing, I'm a boy and I'm not going to have an abortion myself. That's not going to happen to me. It's not going to be a choice I get to make. That's just how it is. Like there was that film with Arnold Schwarzenegger where they got him pregnant with Danny DeVito, got him pregnant. That film made me cry. He made cry. He wanted to keep him. He wanted to keep him, mate. Junior. It's called Junior. You got that film. Other than that film, right? It's not going to happen. So, my actual opinion on this whole topic, and let's tell a little bit of a home truthy story here. You know, I have been in a situation where I was like, "Oh, this is a situation. Do you want to make a decision about this?" And they said, "Yes, I do, and I'm going to make this decision." I was like, "Well, I don't. Well, my opinion's not really heard here, is it? So let's just go with the flow." Less said about that. That's a different story for a different day. But I've, seen these things not seen them up close, obviously, not seen them up close, but I've been in the situation. Anyway, look, the point is it my decision? Am I, going back to this prejudice, let me go to the web browser, let me read the exact words. It's when people form an opinion before becoming aware of and understanding the relevant facts. So, big face. You asked me, if you come around my house now with your little ballot paper, abortion, yes or no, what are the rules and what are the facts? I could quite happily say, hang on, I don't know. I don't know the relevant facts. And not only do I not know all the relevant facts, I think there's a limit to my understanding. I know I could understand the biology. I know I could understand the medical science. And I know you could give me the evidence for this and the evidence for that. I know that some of it would be down to maybe opinion on ages and times and things and development. I get the gist. But I'm not going to be having to make that decision with my heart and my body. I'm not going to be in that position. So I think if it comes to me and my opinion in this, I'm quite happy to say I don't understand the relevant facts to a level where I should make a choice about that. Not for you, not for other women, because like I just explained, I think my experience and my ability to empathise, my ability to empathise is high. It's high, but this is quite a serious thing, isn't it? It's quite a serious thing. So should I be making arbitrary decisions for all of you? No, definitely not. So if I was the president, or if I was I don't know how it works in America, you've got all these, if I was the governor of all the different states, if everyone listened to me, I'd just be like, look, let's just ask the ladies, and anyone who identifies as lady, or anyone, I mean, we've all been born, haven't we? So I suppose in one concept, we can conceptualize conception. We can conceptualize conception. We've all been born, but maybe we should mainly listen to what the people who are involved in the living and experiencing of these things have to say and what their feelings and thoughts are. Maybe we should listen to them more. And it's strange to me that when we see these, because there's a lot of marches, there's a lot of non-genders. Not trying to point these are definitely ladies because they've got long hair. I've got long hair, so who knows? But there's a lot of people, and there's a lot of feminism going on as well, isn't there? A lot of feminism going on, which I'm quite supportive of. I think what I should be doing is sort of saying, like, it's your turn. Like, have the mic, have the platform, and then I'll stand and clap. And like, what you come to an agreement, you who I respect and trust, and I'll just sort of say thanks. Let's go along with that then. That's what. Look, that's bad words, but we're going to have to allow them. Member is the word that got badly. I thought it was going to be the other word. Look, yeah, you see, now you're bringing specifics that I'm not going to bring up, and I'm definitely not going to bring up and talk about extensively like that on stream because of things that could be like widely construed as adult themes or whatever. But yeah, I understand all these things. You see, I understand that, and so I think that should be for the decision of that person, shouldn't it? That person and their family and their lives, and not for like this thing. The point I was going to make is that and it goes back to this thing I was saying about mental health in our country, about governments. Is why should it be that the group, and we've got it in our country, like look at the men in government. They've arbitrarily had some women involved. They've not arbitrarily. Some of these women are really mean. And they've done well in the Conservative Party. Some of them are quite ruthless, and they've done well in the politics of being rich enough to buy your way into power. Like, look at the people who donated loads of money and got safe seats. Like my politician from my where I live, our politician comes from London. I don't come from London. Nobody around here does, but they do because they're really rich and they were given a safe. Anyway, look, these people are making the decisions. They're the ones making the decisions. That doesn't seem to be. And like in America, you've got the same thing. You've got this Senate, and you like applauding the fact that you've got almost token representation from women, and it's not almost token now, are they? They're sensible, intelligent people who have to be listened to. But we're only on the cusp of this, really, on the cusp of this. These people in power, and yet these huge decisions. And then you've got the actual people. This is the thing going right. It baffles me. The people are out there with the banners and the things saying, "We think this, we think this," And then the other people are like, well, we've got a lot of money from the church, so could go either way. And I'm like, how can it go either way? You're supposed to have this system of like representation. Something can't be right. Something can't be right. Something can't be right. I don't know. But yeah, so that going prejudice. That's my example of prejudice. Were I, me, Scotty Hottie, to say, I think I know the answer to this, and the answer is definitely this, or even definitely that, depending on which side of the fence I fall. Doesn't. If I'm to say that, maybe I'm not in full. Maybe I'm being prejudiced and I'm not fully understanding the relevant facts. And how would I even know? How would I know? Because I'd be so up my opinion. And I have been, haven't I? Scotty Hottie is up his own opinion. He does think, we're all human. Maybe we all do this a bit. Mental Health Monday here, reaching out hands across the world. Maybe I'm not saying that they're all completely... I mean, they almost start out as normal people and they must get like twisted in some way and become grotesquely horrible, selfish people. I don't know. But we're all human. So maybe we all think that we know the score until someone says, hang on, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? And so the key there that we need to draw out, I mean, that we can draw out quite easily at our end, but maybe at the other end, the people who are doing the prejudice, the people who are like operating the systems that ingratiate and perpetuate the prejudice, maybe those people need to learn this little thing of taking a step back and saying, hang on, maybe I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm not the be all and end all on this one. Maybe I should listen to someone else and let them have the mic and the floor. And isn't it a weird system that we have, that you have like a president and a prime minister and a top one and a main one, and their whole job is to say, no, forget what all you say, I'm the one that knows. And they don't quite, like, they do, don't they? They delegate, don't they? You know more about the killing people, you run the army, I'll just do when I need someone killed, I'll just call you. They need a wedge issue to rally the voters. That's an important point as well, isn't it? There's politics involved. It's people's lives, isn't it? It's people's lives. And I'm not trying to say that in a flippant way, as in like pro-life. I know that pro-life is a propaganda term, name of a side in this party. I'm not trying to say that. I'm not trying to pick a side, like I said. I'm trying to say I don't, in any circumstances, want to pick any side other than pro-human rights for people. Like I said, mainly women, isn't it, that have abortions? They are the people that should be making their decisions about themselves and their situations. Definitely not me, and definitely not anyone in Senate, House, or whatever. Definitely not them. Anyway, look, prejudice. So we've got to the bottom of that. We've managed to fix prejudice by understanding that we should be aware that we're not aware. Know what you don't know, or at least know that you might not know. Be open-minded enough to say, let's have a look. Let's say, I've got this opinion and I'm going to stand with my flag, but at the same time, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too. That's what this is. That's exactly what this is. Stand by your opinions. Stand by your convictions, but they have to be strong enough to scrutiny. So scrutinise them. Look at the other sides, the other ideas, the other thoughts, and consider them. See if, they undermine any of the things you say. Be prepared to change. Be prepared to have a better understanding of all the relevant facts, and then make your judgments. And then we're going to judge. Then we're going to judge. No, what I'm saying is that you're always judging, aren't we? We're good at it. That's humans. Yeah, if you had a more socially progressive society, I totally agree that certain aspects of these things, specifically the things we've been talking about with abortion, could be mitigated by and also yeah, I'm just going to agree with you. Yeah. Prejudice can also stir up emotional responses such as fear or anger towards the people who are being stigmatized. These judgmental preconceptions endorse negative stereotypes, which can have a major effect on someone who experiences mental health problems. So I read the words, but I couldn't get them in my head. Give me a minute. Prejudice can also stir up emotional responses. So you get angry, don't you? Like, there's people are being prejudiced towards me, or I see prejudice in action. I'm angry about it. That's me. That's what we're doing now. and it can generate fear toward the people who are being stigmatized. I'm angry about those people who are being stigmatized. Yeah, I get that as well. We had that, didn't we, with like the immigrants. Oh, the bad immigrants. Oh, stigmatize the immigrants. Oh, they're bad. And then people didn't just stigmatize them for being like, it wasn't. They didn't just hate them because they were poor. They didn't just hate them because they had nothing and were looking for somewhere safe. They didn't just hate them because they had a different colour skin and culture. They also then started to hate them enough to make them angry about them, didn't they? They were angry about them because they were coming here and taking our jobs. And well, it turns out, oh, don't even get me started on that. But yeah, we've seen that sort of thing in action recently, haven't we? Being angry at the people who you are prejudiced against, or it stirs up an emotional response in the TikTok, in the Twitter. Yeah. These judgmental preconceptions endorse negative stereotypes. So having preconceptions, being judgmental, endorses negative stereotypes. Okay, so you might have heard something bad about we're talking about mental health, aren't we? Let's focus it on mental health again. You might have heard something bad about, say, for example, people who have bipolar. You might have heard that they can be erratic or they have had episodes, and you might think, oh, that's a bad thing. And then judgmental preconceptions endorse the negative stereotypes and being angry about them. Yeah, I agree. The anger towards immigrants was orchestrated. Yeah, there are people Pied Pipering, playing the fiddle, who are now definitely not still in the same social position and have potentially revealed themselves as the charlatans. Look, I'm really confused about this. These judgmental preconceptions endorse negative stereotypes. I don't really quite know exactly what that means. I know what all the separate bits mean. I know that being judgmental is bad. I know that having preconceptions means that you've already got your ideas, and that endorses negative stereotypes. But those ideas are the judgmental preconceptions, aren't they? The negative stereotypes. So it's like a rabbit eating its own lettuce. It can have a major impact on someone, yeah, I guess. These attitudes can have a major impact on people's lives, making them feel bad about themselves, prejudice, just in general. So we've got self-stigma. You do it to yourself. You do, and that's what really hurts. You do it to yourself, you do. Yourself and no one else. You do it to yourself. Stigma by association is people around the person, around you, around us, around someone else, who they get the cop the flack, and that's not fair. Structural stigma is our society, our governance, the mechanisms for support, and even just other things like the way jobs work and stuff like that. We get that. And prejudice in general, it's endorsing it, yeah. Yeah, I guess prejudice is like a social then. You know, so we're saying that like if there's a social context where people say it's okay to say bad things about people, where it's okay, like we agree that the immigrants are bad, then that's a context of judgmental preconceptions and negative stereotypes. And if you are then an immigrant, you're going to be like, well, what am I walking into here? This is tough. Prejudice in general, yeah. You're looking in for more of it. Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, so you're going to say, I've heard these immigrants are bad people. So when an immigrant, you meet one and I guess, okay, here's an example. It's gonna, and they stab you, I was going to say, but that's not going to. But like, let's say out of 100 people that do crime across the country today, one is an immigrant. They're the one on the paper. They're the one that everyone's pointing the finger. Oh, the bad immigrants. Whereas all the other people that were native that did crimes, they're kind of ignored because it's the bad immigrants that we're looking for. And then you're going to catch more immigrants in crime because the policemen are going to be out looking for them. They're going to be hanging around where they live, and it's going to lead on to a. It's a bit like how they police black people in neighbourhoods in America. Although I'm not an expert on that, so I shouldn't really get involved in that either, should I? But I've heard. Trying to sort that out, aren't they? They're trying to sort that out. Anyway, look, We didn't even get on to how to challenge it yet, and we've already done nearly an hour. And this is going to be a big one, isn't it? How to challenge it. How to challenge it. It can be difficult to talk about your mental health when you're struggling. And when people do speak out, they often feel they're let down and misunderstood by family, friends, health professionals and work colleagues. Whilst reconciling this is unintentional, it can have a big effect on being able to deal with your illness. All the words, isn't it? All the words. Punch him in the face. Punch him in the face. I don't. Seeing that when it goes down as well, when the punching in the face starts going down, it sends the chills through me that makes me feel I don't like this. It's that anxiety response. I mean, sometimes you have to be involved in it, but it doesn't make me feel good. And then there's these people that are like, oh, I enjoy the old violence. And I'm like, what? You felt good about that? Like you didn't want to cry afterwards? Why are we... So I don't like it and you do. That's why we're doing it, isn't it? Because you enjoy... Oh, you chuffer. You chuffer. Why? You should have told me that. I wouldn't have hung out with you. I would have just stuck with the people who don't like it, because it's quite a big... You don't think you have to raise that as a we're going to go out drinking this evening. Is there anyone in the group who has a predilection for violence? Is there anyone in the group who, or in another context, they might say, we're going out drinking tonight. Is there anyone in the group who doesn't want to get involved in the violence at the end? Raise your hand now. Who wants the early taxi without the fight? It's like having a pizza, isn't it? You have some people in the room who want a pizza with like the things, and some people like me who don't want any of the things. It's a bit like that, isn't it? No, I want you to punch me in the face. I don't want anyone. It's like, look, we've had enough drinks that we have to start fighting. It used to when I was younger. I'll tell you this. Let's go big face. When I was younger, the local town's quite a nice town. However, it doesn't matter. All around the country, you get this. People get really drunk, and then there's like a taxi rank or a kebab shop, and it's all the country. We have it in America as well, I'm sure. Like they get drunk, and then they go to this sort of place, this area where they all sort of congregate. And for some reason, they have a taxi rank usually. They have a kebab usually, and somewhere along the lines, that combination of taxis and fast food creates violence in people. I don't know what it is. Don't know what it is about the taxis and the fast food that causes this violence. Quite often it's the drinking, isn't it? It's the drinking that does it, isn't it? It's the drinking. It's not that, but the what tends to happen as well is the violence, because they're all there. It's the end of the night, and maybe there's, maybe you want to get in that taxi, and maybe someone else wants to get in the taxi at the same time. And in a normal day-to-day situation, it might make you cross even. I've seen people in the street be quite cross. That's my taxi, but they don't throw down. Like they just talking yourself out of fights. Yeah, it's one of the things that try not to be the small girl trash talker. Yeah, but in the UK, you probably recognise this concept. It's probably a bit in America. You've got a different social concept because you've all got guns all the time. So I don't know what it'd be like in America for a hardened Brit to go out and just behave as you would normally do on a Saturday night. When I say a hardened Brit, I mean like a tough nut who wants to fight, who is used to this. Most of us find out where these places are and kind of avoid. I used to say, look, I'm okay walking home. I don't need to go and hang out at the taxi rank, because by the time I've got a taxi and paid for that taxi to take me, I only live up there. It's probably just easier for me to walk home. And to be honest, I'm less likely to get in a fight just walking on my own than I am hanging out with all the drunk people. So I used to just walk home myself. But, people have different systems. But in America, you've got guns. So I wouldn't like to get in a fight and then all of a sudden there's gunfire. That would be horrific for me. But in the UK, because there's no threat of gunfire, there's more knives these days, there's more stabbings these days. Gang culture is on the rise because of drug crime. However, when I was growing up, people wouldn't be assuming that would happen. They'd be assuming that over a taxi or a kebab, fists would be starting to be thrown. Someone gets grabbed, there's a headlock, there's a bit of this. And then after a short while, it kind of dissipates. There's some shouting. Someone might end up with a broken this or that. The police are not generally called. You generally just go about your way. Like 2 or 3 in the morning, talking people down, having to convince people who, for some reason, they've got to this point of, they've managed to get into this aggression phase on their own. And then you're just the person that happens to be in the way when they encounter somebody they would like to fight. That's a bizarre one that I've never understood. I'm like, so you're already angry. I know exactly the situation you're talking about, talking down people. Like, so you're already angry. I've not done anything. You're like, are you looking at me? That was your question. Are you looking at me? Well, I am now because you're shouting at me. So, and already I'm doing this with my face, and that's enough, isn't it? That's too much. You didn't like that. Now you want to have a fight. Well, you didn't. You already wanted the fight, didn't you, mate? You already wanted the fight. And it depends, doesn't it? You have to weigh up each situation on its merits and decide whether you're going to throw down or whether you're going to run away. Like, and don't anyone tell me, oh, I'm so big. And I know a couple of people who are so big and tough they would not run away from any situation. But let's be fair. Let's be fair. Sometimes people seem quite unhinged. And this is Mental Health Monday I'm talking about drunk people, like reckless people. You can get there through mental health imbalance. True. So I'm not going to be prejudiced in this, but some people can seem quite scary and they can be quite tough and they might even be armed. So quite often I would rather not have to, like, for me, violence is something that could only be brought out in a really serious, if you're going to threaten my family or, my safety, then I would have to defend I get the concept, but I shouldn't have to feel like that on a walk home from the pub, should I? Because we're not at war. We're not at war, are we? So, I'm not out there doing, some bad thing to somebody. So I shouldn't have to worry about, a pitchfork gang coming after me. Should I? There should be no reason. There should be no reason that's led to a direct, violent confrontation between strangers. Should there? Least of all, I'm drunk or whatever. So, and if it is a mental health issue, then what's good is that when you do talk to people, it turns out what they'd rather do is have someone to talk to and work it out with than punch. In the main, that lashing out, that violence is the last resort of someone who is struggling for, this is with mental health concern specifically, it's the last resort of someone who's struggling to express, we talked about expression in another episode, someone struggling to express themselves who is feeling that they can't put their finger on or whatever. It's symptomatic of something else. And if you can talk to somebody in that situation and not end up having a violent confrontation, quite often they will be upset. It's quite often that people who are drunk and violent end up upset afterwards. So, yeah, that's interesting. Go back to the web browser. Got off on a tangent. Difficult to talk about your mental health. Stigma and discrimination can make you feel like you don't matter, and it can be frustrating to think that others judge you because of mental health. The impact that reactions of others have on an individual should not be underestimated. Of course not. No, yeah, it's very important. Stigma and discrimination can leave you feel isolated and can affect your day-to-day life. That's interesting, isn't it? Now, that's not, if you're trying to deal with a mental health issue, and if you're trying to improve someone's mental health, then them feeling isolated, discriminated against, that's like the opposite of what we're trying to achieve. And we've seen already that it's quite easy for it to happen through an institution, through the policies of an institution. We're not deeply picking apart any particular institutions and their policies, but we've seen that's possible. We've seen it's possible through society. And I guess the way we make jokes, the television programmes, the things we do stand-up comedy about, the people in society we point at and laugh at, the ones that we ostracise because everyone knows that's that mad woman. Everyone knows she did have a pram full of cans and soft toys and common issues that people face. This is common issues. I bet this isn't. I'm gonna make a good point here, and it's damn well better work. Common issues that people face. They mean common issues that people with mental health, stigma, and discrimination face. However, I'm going to say these are common issues that we all face. I'm going to see if they're applicable to both. Difficulty in finding and keeping a job. Yes. We've discussed it earlier. I think, yes, we all, to be honest, in today's day and age, we all find it difficult. Even if you kept it for a long time, initially there is difficulty in finding. Surely, many of us recognise that feeling. Isolation from friends, family and daily activities. Well, yeah, that's a mental health one, isn't it? If you're common issues, that's probably not. But then it could be, couldn't it? We just had a COVID. haven't we? We've just had a COVID, so we've been isolated. Everyone's been isolated, deliberately, socially. Yeah. It's hard to stay in stable long-term relationships. It is these days. It is if you're suffering with mental health. But these days it is as well, isn't it? It is. People are quicker to say, that's enough, I've had that, that's finished with that now. They're quicker to swipe left. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is. Maybe the modern world is more difficult in that aspect. Fear to open up to professionals, family and friends about mental ill health. I think, again, yes, of course, that's a mental health one, but don't we all fear that in a way? Imagine what it would be like to go to the doctor and tell them all the worst mental health stories you could think of about yourself, all the lowest times you've been. Imagine that. Don't imagine it too much because it'll make you feel bad. It's hard enough with no mental health challenges, you see, yeah. And this is what leads to them as well. Anxiety about health due to overwhelming belief of not being listened to. That sounds like people I know that don't have mental health problems, that are worried about their health, and they believe they're not being listened to because they're not getting a full crack of the doctor's appointment, or there's been a COVID, and yeah, absolutely that's mental health, of course, yeah, but that's everyone as well. Avoiding speaking to doctors about mental health concerns, which means treatment and care is not given. This can have a knock-on effect of recovery. So yeah, the stigma means you're worried about the stigma, so you don't talk to the doctor about it, which means you don't get the treatment, and then you don't get better. So that's a shame, isn't it? Because the whole main point would be that if you talk about it, you can get better, and then you don't have to suffer the stigma. It's one of them. But is that for everyone? Does everyone avoid speaking to their doctor about mental health concerns because they're worried they might end up being stigmatized? Could anyone, and when I say could anyone, I mean could any of us, actually benefit from some kind of treatment, whether it be talking to someone regularly, whether it be a couple of sleeping tablets for these times when you really can't sleep? I've had that exact, that's why I use that one. I've had exact, I was like, I don't really need sleeping tablets. I just need to get to, tell me how to sleep, please, doc. And the doctor was like, well, actually, you seem really stressed. And if I give you these, they'll help you to get a nice, good sleep. And it won't be permanent. You're not going to be taking sleeping tablets forever, but it might help to get you back into sync. So I was like, all right, I'll try that then, whatever. But had I not brought that up at the doctor's, that was way early days in my journey. Had I not even brought that up at the doctor's, we wouldn't have ended up talking about mental health, maybe, how I felt. Making excuses for not going out places due to the fear of just telling people about feeling unwell mentally. I totally get that. Sometimes you don't really feel in the place where you want to go and talk about it. Sometimes you need to dig yourself out of that. Have you ever felt like early intervention would solve so many problems? Yeah, I totally agree. Do you know what? Early intervention would be so good if we had some sort of screening. We talk about screening for so many other things, but screening for mental health isn't really done, and it just involves a bit of a chat, doesn't it? Just involves a bit of a chat. Like, instead of the toxic consumerism, instead of those Instagrams where people are all like, listen to me, I would hope, I'm going to go big face for this, I would hope that you could come to Mental Health Monday and we could have a little bit of a chat like this, and if you recognise something or wanted to bring it up, you could raise it in our chat, and it is exactly this, talking about it, early intervention. If you were worried about even just a little thing, bring it up in chat. We're not going to tarnish you with some brush. We're not going to stigmatise you with something. You're going to be relatively anonymous. It's going to mean that you can investigate an idea. You might find out that there's nothing that much, you were worried over nothing. It might be that it leads to something more substantial that you can use to improve your life in a substantial way. So, yeah, I'd like to think we offered that sort of thing, early intervention. But all it takes is a bit of a conversation, doesn't it? If we had more early intervention conversations, I suppose they do look for this. I suppose teachers do look for these things. But should teachers be in charge of worrying about children's mental health, or should there be a person at the school who you sort of talk to once or twice a year that knows the right questions to ask and can do a sort of mental health screening? Shouldn't we all have a mental health doctor? Shouldn't we all have a mental health checkup once or twice a year? That's an interesting concept. Web browser. Because we make excuses for not going out places. Oh, this is what I was going to say. Okay. Let's go big face. Whee! I mean, Instagram can be good as well, you know. Yeah, and Instagram, I slate it so much because of the common theme of like, look at me. But of course, there are some good people on all the different platforms. The platforms themselves are not inherently anything. Oh, careful. No, I know, I do get it. I talk in generalisations myself. I talk in prejudices and stigmas myself. I was going to say that. Have you ever had those days where you just want to wear a jumper, a big one, not like the relatively tight-fitting one that I'm wearing now, but like a double plus-sized, nice big one, sit on the sofa, just eat the ice cream. It's vegan ice cream, you can eat it, it's fine. It's not really fine. They sell a lot of other ice cream products from their company, but I'm not arguing about that today. I just want to sit on the sofa. You know, you've had those days, haven't you? You've had those days where you just want to eat all of the ice cream, sit on the sofa, watch all of The Sopranos, and not have to talk to anyone. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, does it? Today. There you go. It's raining today in the UK, and it will be for the next 6 months. So we're feeling like that here too. It's dark and it's raining, and I know. So I get it, right? Mental health can make you feel like that, but not in the nice, cozy way, but in a sort of horrible, endless drudgery kind of way. And if that's the case, then going out places, web browser, going out places and telling people about how you feel, that's not going to be on top of your list. It's going to be the exact opposite. And it's one thing, I don't want to make this gender specific, but it is important for me to say this, that it's one thing for you to feel unwell, but if you don't look, like if you're in that scruffy state, there's a lot of social pressure on all of us to look a certain way. But a man can grow a beard and just let it grow, can't he? And people say, that's an interesting beard. What's on your mind? No, they say, you know, it can be passed off. But when ladies get this extra pressure, and I'm not being gender, you know, I think I don't put this pressure on, but we're talking about stigmas, aren't we, and things that, you know, you haven't done your hair or you haven't painted your face with all the makeup, and you know, then you've got to go out as well. There's these extra layers. So making excuses for not going out for the fear of just telling people about feeling unwell, I think that's a common issue that we all face at times. I don't feel like it today. It's fine over the phone, but imagine having to go out at that, you know, on your duvet day. And I suppose most of us have had that experience, haven't they? Oh, you put your makeup on the bad days as well. There you go then. No, you know, there you go. On the duvet days, we've all had the experience where you've gone to the petrol station or gas station in America, whatever you call it. You've gone to pick up the pizza or the whatever it is, and whilst you're there, not wearing any of the things in the duvet day, not expecting to, you see someone, you're like, oh chuff, that's so and so, that's my ex, and they've seen me dressed up. I don't normally go out with different shoes, 2 different shoes on. I don't normally go out in my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle sarong wraparound, do I? I don't normally do that, but today I've chosen to do that just to pick up the pizza, and now there's my ex. Oh, chuff, I hope they don't see me, you say to yourself, as you slip in the mud and the pizza goes, and there's a dog, and the dog's got your pizza. Get off the pizza. And so you pick up an empty bottle to try and try and fight the dog off. And it turns out it's an empty bottle of cider that some old drunk has peed in, and now you've got cider and pee spilled on you, and you're fighting a dog for your pizza. And then your ex walks past. And you're like, no, look, I'm not really fighting a dog for my pizza covered in cider and pee. I'm not drunk. I only came up to pick up the pizza. That's my car over there. Honestly, the clean one. Well, no, I'm not getting in it. No, of course I'm not getting in it covered in pee. Well, no, it is my car. I'm just not going to get in it because I'm covered in pee. It's just a dilemma that I'm having. No, well, it's been good to see you too. It's been good to see you too. Oh, okay, bye. No, I don't. I'll be fine. I will be fine. I will be fine. Yeah, so, you know, you can see why you're not going to want to do that. So this is tough, though, specifically for mental health, specifically for stigma. It's tough, but some of us have to sort of bite the bullet on that sometimes and sort of, you know, say, all right, I'm going to the petrol station in my jammies, and, you know, I'm going to that counsellor's appointment I'm going to that doctor's appointment in my jammies. I hope I don't run into my ex. For some of us, that can feel like that every day, can't it? So we don't go out as much. Yes, I've let it all go. Aren't you glad we're not together? Yeah, that would be a good way to just go with it. Just go with it. I just pee my own pants then in that case. At least I'll be warm. Look, low self-esteem from believing the stereotypes portrayed about mental health problems. So people can have low self-esteem from believing the stereotypes. That's a straightforward one. You didn't think these things about yourself until you saw them in the news, until you read about them in the paper, till the TV shows reinforced them, till the politicians and your friends, till the people on the bus were throwing the pizza. You didn't, but now you agree. You've internalised it and you've believed it and you've become low self-esteem. That's a common issue. And I think is that common for everyone? Yes, advertising works on that. Yes, advertising works on that. Have you got bad breath? Well, you all have. You all need to brush your teeth and use Listerine. Are you getting older? Yes, well, you all are. So, will you die one? Yes, you all will. Don't you enjoy McDonald's more than anything else? Do you have free time? Small amounts of free time? And do you value that free time? Here's these graphics are going to try and make you associate that free time with animal fat. We've all got those problems. We're all being bullied by those problems. Physical health can be affected too. Absolutely true. Yeah. Negative experiences make it harder to ask for help. I think that's the general gist, isn't it? Where does stigma and discrimination occur? Where does it occur? Where does it occur? I've already said on public transport. There, that's it. Got it. Next. Only on the bus. Just on the bus. The bus has been used historically for stigmatization, hasn't it? They did it in the race segregation in America. They used the bus. We use it for all these. Anytime you want to have a row and a stigma, the bus. That's why I don't ride the bus. I'm not fully versed on the bus. I've only been on there a couple of times, and it was so stigmatizing. No, there's probably nothing wrong with the bus. No, it was on the list. There is something wrong with it. Also, education settings. Yeah, I mean, we're going to be looking at everywhere here, aren't we? Workplace. Yeah. Within the health and social care service, amongst the healthcare professionals. Oh, that's tough. Hang on. We'll pick that one out at the end. In ourselves, we stigmatise, self-stigmatise. We've been through that. We talked about that. Through the media. I talked about that. I said the newspapers, the telly. I'm the media as well. I'm just not really rich like Rupert Murdoch. Social settings. So at night out at the pub. Yes. Yes, you do. Yes. Everywhere. Public transport, the bus, that's the main one. The main one is the bus. I don't know why the Transport Secretary doesn't do more about it. At home or from family members and friends. Now that's tough. We'll pick on that at the end as well. Alongside other stigma and discrimination because of your because of your social class. That's the same. It's not the same. Right, we've got four big ones to pick on here. 4 big ones to pick on. We'll go from the bottom rather than the top because it's nice to have a change. Because of your social class. Now, it's not just that people would be more stigmatising and be more prejudiced if you are lower class. Also, I'm very stigmatising and prejudiced against the upper classes, aren't I? The Eton lot and their selfishness. Maybe they're not all selfish. Maybe they're not. But what we're actually saying here is that mental health stigmatisation can increase or occur because of your social class. So maybe if you are already in danger of being stigmatised against because of your social class, that's one thing. But your social class, it might be, they haven't given me a statistic to go on here, but it might be that, you know, more people of working class background are stigmatised against with mental health stigmas because people say, oh, working class, mental health, they must go together. You know, there's like a correlation there maybe. So it's got that embedded in it. Alongside other stigma and discrimination because of your race, gender, sexuality and disability. That's the same as the social class one, isn't it? I was just saying. So maybe there's that point then, yeah? Because of your race, gender, sexuality, people might say, oh, and they also got the mad stigma, put that with that. Yeah, get that. Because of your social class also means that if you are from a working class background, you may have a higher propensity to mental health stigma because of the inequalities, the things the support networks that are lacking in those situations. Oh, big words coming out of me now. That punching upwards is good. Am I allowing bastard? It seems like a big. I mean, I'm not. I don't know. I kind of agree with what you're saying. Not allowed to shout that loud on the internet. I'm just going to allow that. Bastard is now allowed. I'm allowing all these things. But I do, I do, don't I? I just feel, and it's not because of prejudice. It's because of the way that I've seen them behave. But yeah, inappropriate behaviour. That bastard is my local MP, I'll have you know, and he graces us in my local area. He graces us from London via, was it Iraq? I think it was Iraq. It wasn't, he started running some businesses, and he set up some websites and some things and made a bit of money. Sold some things, made a bit more money. His wife's got a stables business. I was paying for it for a while until they caught him. Yeah, the vaccines ministry is doing quite well for himself, so that's going to attract the MI5 now, that is. Look, because of your social class, we're going upwards, aren't we? Going upwards, we've done that one. At home from families and friends, that's tough. That's really tough. Right? If you're at home and the people in your safe space are the ones that are doing the stigmatising, that's got to be really extra tough, hasn't it? That's got to be really tough. That's I've never seen. Look at that, ban. That's so interesting emojis. Oh, we need to fix our emojis before the end of the year, or at least try. I'm going to buy that NFT if we can. I'm going to work up to it by the end of the year. Hopefully, that's going to be our Christmas present. Because of your social class, because of Nadim Zawi, because of our family and friends. How many gentlemen think all women are? Yep, there is that, isn't there? That's a trope, isn't it? Women are nuts. Oh, the women are crazy, aren't they? Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Because there are some differences in behaviour in people. We're sort of like, oh, we'll just attribute that to them. Not us. We're not. Yeah, definitely that. Yeah. I was going up, wasn't I? This is more difficult to read upwards than downwards. I'm finding. Media we did. That was the one. Social care and other healthcare professionals. So that's tough when you work in the healthcare setting and you're doing the stigmatising. That can be really tough. Now I'm gonna just be really careful about this, because I'm going to say that there are some really fantastic people who work in social care and healthcare, and if you're worried about your mental health, you shouldn't be worried about going to access those things. Those should be the first points of call. But of course, there may be some people who have, how do I say this, worked in the sectors for longer or seen things from a more traditional perspective, who maybe their ideas don't hold so much water these days. Maybe they do have stigmas. Maybe there are people who are jaded by their work. I could certainly think of, imagine being, I don't know, like a healthcare professional or a social care professional in a really difficult situation like a prison or something. Maybe they don't have the same perspective. Maybe they can, I don't know. But that's a really tough one, because these people are people that we trust. And so I'm going to say that we shouldn't erode the trust by me speculating about how they could be stigmatising people. But I would agree with the general point that it can happen. And certainly I believe I've met people who appear to be in a position of... you would expect them to be more compassionate sometimes. That's what I'm going to say there, sometimes. I do see less empathy for those with difficult mental health conditions. There you go, empathy, yeah. And the same, my point, what I just said about compassion, yeah. I sometimes feel that they're quite down to earth about things and a bit matter of fact. But maybe that's because of their experience. I don't know. Maybe I don't have all the relevant facts there. But it's important to note that not everyone is perfect, A. But I would hope that if you went into the social care sector, that you're not going into it thinking extreme negative stereotypes of the people that you're going to care for. And finally, challenging inappropriate behaviour rears its ugly head. Well, it's not ugly. That's the positive bit. It's the good bit. But it's like a whole extra thing, isn't it? Look, it's like a whole nother page. And I really feel that if I start this now, we will be on past doggy walking time. That's an hour and a half's worth of... Knowing now how long it took me to read just that, this is an extra hour and a half. So that's next week's. So what did we do this week? Hang on. Last week was what? Understanding mental health stigma and discrimination. That was last week. And this is supposed to be experiencing and how to challenge it. So what we've done is experiencing it. Common issues people face. We've talked about the issues people face. We talked about where it occurs. We talked about what it's like to experience it. We talked about the actual nuts and bolts of experiencing it. Okay. Let's be honest, being close to someone with mental health issues is hard. Yes, agreed. And let's be honest as well, since we looked at the stats here, we know that at least 1 in 4 people will suffer with a mental health problem in their life. And families are made up of around 4 people. So possibly more when you extend the families. We're quite likely to know somebody who has a serious mental health issue. Like most of us are quite likely to know. It's quite likely. Carers get exhausted. It needs much more funding to take the weight off them. Yeah, absolutely. I'm absolutely baffled. I'll say this. We'll go big face for a little bit. I'm not finished yet. But I'm going to leave the serious topic of what was it? Challenging inappropriate behaviour till next week. I'm going to leave that to next week, but I'm going to say, aren't we there yet? Like, I thought, when I was growing up, I used to watch this programme called Tomorrow's World. It was on the BBC, and they had these things like, in the future you're going to have, isn't it going to be mad when we have computers? Isn't it going to be strange when we have robots cooking our dinner? Isn't it going to be strange when... Have you seen this microwave? You can put your soup in there and it comes out hot. Have you seen this microwave? It wasn't always things that you use, that you have. Quite often it was things that we didn't ever use and never had. And then sometimes it would be a little bit of something about some tech that wasn't that interesting, but was new and modern, like the fax and how the fax machine does the faxing. And you'd be like, I don't even care about fax machines. When is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on? And Tomorrow's World, we used to have Tomorrow's World back on the old telly. No, look at the gifty subs. Thank you very much for the gifty subs. We all benefit. From your generosity. Gonna get someone sat there and they're going to benefit from it soon as well, and then you're going to benefit from their brain and their talking, and it's all going to be a nice cycle. So I thought that when we watched Tomorrow's World, I remember a couple of episodes, specific things that I thought, wow, I can't wait for one of them was this scanner, like a medical scanner that was like, maybe we do have it now, maybe it was MRI, maybe I was just so young that I thought this is like a mad medical scanner. I keep saying mad today because we've done mental health stigma, and I'm trying not to use the word in that context, but it was a really, and I actually thought by the time I got old, we'd have these sort of things. And also I had this strange, like, I don't know, it was strange. I thought that if you're on a desert island, you all share the coconuts, don't you? You find the coconut tree, we're all washed up on the desert island, we all need to eat the coconuts, we just share them. And I thought that the whole point of society, I used to watch these future programs, futuristic. Even cartoons like the Jetsons was like the Simpsons, but it was the future. Star Trek was the future. When they want to get their dinner in Star Trek, when they want their dinner, it just comes down to them, doesn't it? Just on a little tray. It's just magic. If you want a new bike in the Jetsons, they just 3D print that. If you did it now on TV now, the Jetsons, if you came up with a modern concept, they just 3D print that. How much does that cost? Not very much now that we've got vast advances. I learned about mass production in school. I learned about it in university, the Adam Smith Keynesian economics. I learned about the idea. So before, it used to take loads of time to make something, and loads of like man hours and laborious carving out a tin of beans by hand. But now the machine just makes loads of tins of beans in a second, So really, it costs us hardly anything. There's a bit of outlay for the machine, isn't there? There's a bit of outlay for that, but we can all get together and pay for that, and then loads of tins of beans. So why is it that everything got more expensive as time went on? I remember that things used to be a certain way, a certain price in the old days. I get that. The tins of beans were harder to produce, weren't they? But these days, the tins of beans, they are quite cheap. They are quite cheap. They have come down in price. That's the system. It's supposed to be the system anyway. But now we've got inflation and we've got economies and we've got problems. Things go up in price as well. What about the fuel? What about the fuel? What about that? What about the petrol? How much relatively was a gallon of petrol back? I don't know exactly. Maybe it went down in price relatively since these. But isn't the point that we're supposed to be on some sort of magic electric free power by now? Wasn't the point of us moving forward as a society, technologically, this advancement? Oh, I don't get it. Oh, we're doing it now. Oh, I'm on the stream now. I've got it. It costs money though, doesn't it? Costs money. Isn't the point? I thought the point would be that you'd get a load of stuff for free because we were sharing stuff. I thought you'd at least try and make sure that poor people could eat all the food that they needed so they didn't get sick and die. I mean, it sounds really facile the way I'm saying it, but it's actually a problem that we have in this country and in America, not just in China and in, war-torn, pick your war-torn country, not just in your pick your war-torn country, but here as well. We've got kids who just struggle to eat decent dinners on a day-to-day basis. Families who can't afford to feed their kids. I mean, that would just seem like a basic, wouldn't it? Everyone could have heating, couldn't they? Everyone could have heating. In the future, when we've got all these modern technologies, which we have right now, in the future, I thought, when I was a kid, in the future that it would be better for everyone. But instead, what we've managed to, like, it might be objectively better or worse, depending on your perspective and what you think. But for me, instead, we've sacrificed that ability to share it with everyone so that we can fire some people off to space. Or Boris Johnson can put his kids to a really rich school. Or that really rich school can cover up their scandals. I nearly used the P word. I don't know what goes on. I don't even need a lot. We do a lot of the allotment, and I don't eat as many vegetables as probably I should do. But we get vegetables, and I think to myself, like, we get extra vegetables, and we share them by giving them away because we've got so many marrows, and that one's grown big. Does anyone want this? I just think, how is that we're doing that at the allotment, and yet Boris Johnson and his mates, they've all grown up with loads of stuff. They haven't wanted for much in life. And they've got into this position of power. Not just him. It goes on in America, doesn't it? Name any senator. Name any of them. I mean, some of them might have had it hard when they were growing up. Some of them might have had it tough. Some of them might not. Did any of them make sure that there's no starving kid? No. They don't make sure of that. They go home at the end of the day and they eat and they enjoy and they watch their Netflix and they put their feet up and they've got their slippers. And overall, how have we not got into a position now as society where we've sorted that out? We had the flying cars we're not flying cars, are we? We're not flying cars. We've got self-driving cars. We've got artificial intelligence. We've got cars that run on electric. But I know that there's people who are going to go to bed hungry. I just don't get it. And I live in abject luxury. I get it. I live in abject luxury, even as a relative pauper. I don't bring in, exactly how much money I bring in, because it's all the contributions, the tippies, the chippies, the patron. And if I can do a little bit of extra photographic work, I've told you about it. If I can do a little bit of extra work here and there, I'll get a few freelancer job days. And that doesn't come to a lot. I actually need, because of the way the society's running, I need to 10x my income so that in the next 10 years I don't completely go under like that. That's just this is what we all face, isn't it? We all face this. You come out of school, university, if you're lucky. If you're lucky, I don't know. I mean, the university was good because I didn't get a degree. Well, that was bad. But also the debt. There was that huge debt. That was a problem to me. It still is. So the way the society's set up, I'm not going to be able to coast this. None of us are. No. Thank you very much for the tippies. Thank you. I'm not begging for them here. I'm talking about society, and I appreciate it. And it makes me feel a bit guilty now because I feel like, But no, I thank you. I really do appreciate it. Yeah, this is the situation. I wish my wish of wishes, like I say, is we build this up. We get this going, the podcast. We get sustainability through a sponsor. And then maybe I can even do some of that work that I talk about, practice what I preach. Maybe I can go and feed a few kids. At the moment, I can hardly feed myself. Hardly feed the dog. But, that's my great wish. And it feels mad to me then. Mad. I say mad. I said it before, I wasn't going to say it. Now I've done it again. It seems strange to me. It seems alien to me that there can be these people. And I've seen the suits and the watches. Just even the suits and the watches that, okay, yeah, you're the minister for the vaccines and you're the minister for this. And I know that you want to look smart and it's been part of your thing and that's how you got to your business. And you're a big, ruthless business person. So, your suits are your, mind my own business about your suits. What do I care about your suits? Well, can't you just wear suits from Debenhams? I mean, Debenhams is going under, so that didn't help, did it? But... you know what I mean? Can't you just wear normal clothes like normal people instead of like these really expensive things and then give the rest of the money to some of the kids? Because you're in the charge of the thing. You're up there on the thing that everyone can see you. I'm going to practice what I preach, actually. I'm going to ensure... I'm not big into like publicly declaring charitable donation. And any donation I make is relatively small compared to the... I'm... like I said, doing the chippies and tippies, trying to put it into this, and the things I give are relatively small compared to what someone like Nadeem Zahawi would be able to do. And I bet he does give money to charity. I bet they do have a foundation they can write their taxes off against. I bet it doesn't even matter, but I don't know. It's just making me think. So I'm going to do a little bit of something tomorrow to make sure that objective gets fulfilled. They used to make fun of Bernie Sanders for his JCPenney suit. Well, there you go. That would be someone I could admire. Because, and the irony is that they talk about it, don't they? He's done that because he just wants to live it. Maybe it was a political decision. Maybe it was a choice. Maybe it was like, oh, they'll talk about my suit and I can prove I'm living my ethics. But the other option is that I'm not wearing the suit and they can prove I'm not. So I guess I'll live it. Yeah, why not? Maybe it was just that he just lived it. And then they talked about the suit. It's good I'm talking about the suit in a way, I suppose. But it's his ethics. That's the thing, isn't it? Should we clap for him? His ethics. I was talking about the suit. It's part of the ethics. It proves his point. It proves my... yeah, I like it, yeah. It's a shame, isn't it, old the way the old politics is, I don't know. Anyway, Mental Health Monday has been about stigma. And what we found out today, to summarise, is that stigma is bad and we all kind of engage with it at all places. So next week, we're going to learn how to challenge it and how to hopefully do something about it. Yeah. That's it, isn't it? That's the only thing we can do as humans, isn't it? Is we can be willing to sort of say, okay, I see this isn't good enough. I see this isn't right. I'm going to have to give some of my time to try and improve it. I guess that's how the world works, doesn't it? Or it works the other way, where no one cares and they just do what they're... It's not my job to do that, so it doesn't get done. Yeah. Trying to end on a positive. I'll tell you how to end on a positive. This has been Mental Health Monday. You've been good. And we have also got Ganji Kid on YouTube. That's our other channel, one of our other channels. I'll do this so you can see the top bit where it says Chuffers. Where it says Chuffers. Come on now. One of these buttons should make it. It won't. I'll move it like that. There you go, look. There you go, Chuffers. There you go. That's our YouTube channel for just random stream, the full stream upload. We played Trivial Pursuit this week, and we will again this week. Last week. Look, you can go and watch videos there of what's happened in the past and its streams. You understand the concept. Subscribe to... You will see this video on Mental Health Monday. Subscribe to everything. So don't just subscribe to... Subscribe indiscriminately to everything. Everything. I'm sad chat lost trivia. Yeah, I did help. I did cheat a little bit. I threw it right at the end. We were neck and neck right at the end. I threw it, didn't I? But we will get more opportunities to play game shows together this month, because this month is game show month leading up to Halloween on Gadget Kids stream. We're also going to pick up Green Hell. I'm not going to persist with YouTube streaming this month because it didn't work. The last 4 tests, it didn't work. So I'm going to do all streaming on Twitch this month. We're going to try and do the practice on the podcast. We're having invites sent out tomorrow to friends and family who, only 2 people, but I will extend that if you're listening and you're friends or family and you want to come. I'll extend that, you know. What time on the YouTube stream will be tomorrow? You see, this is it. It didn't. We tested it twice, 3 times. It couldn't get the kilobytes to maintain. I don't know if it's. I assumed it was not YouTube. I assumed it was my provider, but it might be YouTube because this has worked on Twitch today, and it didn't work on YouTube like an hour before when I tried to do this on YouTube earlier. So we will just. I will try. I'll maybe give it 1 or 2 more tries, but I haven't got the time and patience to be trying next week when I'm trying to do podcast. So for ease of use, Twitch all week. We're just going to be Twitch all week, and we'll be every day at some point, probably from 6, 7 in the afternoon, evening, probably. Because tomorrow I'm going to edit and then get on. And then the next day I'll have the last day's thing to edit and then get on. So I'm going to try and do that. Morning editing, evening streaming. That's the plan. I was pretending not to know the answers. Well, I know my answers. I'll be 100% honest all the time in my answers. I won't be like, oh, I got that one wrong. If I know I'm going to get it right, I'll tell you that for sure. But for you, there were times where I was like, oh, it could be this or it could be that, to try and keep up the suspense. But secretly, I did know who it was, and I did give you a nice, good answer. If I ever gave you a wrong answer, it's because I didn't know. Let's try and keep up that, because at some point it's going to be quite important. Like, I gave chat the answers. Yeah, exactly. I'm good like that. I don't mind giving you the answers. But in future, you'll have to be here giving the answers yourself. So that's what we're doing this week, this month. It's all coming up. A more consistent stream, a higher quality of media content. Not just me chuffing on, because that's all good, isn't it? Streaming, playing games, me talking about my opinions, art, getting a few interviews on the Zoom. That's all good. But the next level is properly recorded, HD, talking into microphones, chuffs and stutters edited out, podcast. Trying to... I understand that the quality of the guest equates to the quality of the media. So trying to source interesting... varied people, like an eclectic mix, I think is important. I don't want to be a vegan podcast, or I don't want to be, a specific narrow podcast. I want to be eclectic, but also understanding that we need to be consistent. So if we do a true crime one this week, next week people aren't going to want to watch about animals. I don't know, but we're all human. Maybe we all like all different things. I should negotiate a price. I get chippies for a win, and you get streams. We're going to just do I thought the finale could be some sort of forfeiture. I thought that we could add it up, 2-1 to me, 3-1, and at the end of the month for Halloween night, I could be forfeit to some sort of forfeit, maybe some sort of costume, cosplay. Maybe there's some choices, but we're already halfway into the month now, so. Maybe next year. There's a lot of good ideas, and it's a lot for me to do. So I'm just happy with the physicality of the room this week, and we're trying to focus on that as top priority. There's still emojis. NFTs to mint, emojis to buy, prizes to negotiate and hand out, costumes to think up. See, I haven't even thought up who I could. Got to have a beard. They've got to have a beard. Father Christmas. I could start on that early. Does anyone do Father Christmas for Halloween? Because that's quite a good idea, isn't it? Because then you could keep that for 2 months down the road. You've come with Father Christmas and be like, yeah, that's a costume. It's an effective, fancy dress, isn't it? It's effective. Ganji Link. I don't know. I suppose I could, couldn't I? Gandalf. Oh God. Johnny Depp. I've got the hat. That's all I need for that. That's over there. That's all I need for that. Johnny Depp. And I suppose the knuckle dusters. The half a bottle of Jack Daniels and the knuckle dusters. Don't make jokes out of domestic violence. It's bad. No one knows exactly what happened. It was a two-way thing. They had a row, and I don't know. I don't know. Oh God, Johnny Depp. Yeah, Johnny Depp in Edward Scissorhands, maybe Edward Scissorhands. How would you operate the stream with scissors for hands? That wouldn't work, would it? Edward Busy Hands. I'm doing that. That's just my hands. You have to imagine that there's all scissors on them. But in my imagination, there are. So that's why I'm doing that. I'm looking at, I'm marvelling at my scissor hands. But, you know. Johnny Depp might be innocent. He might not. He might be guilty. I want to tread that fine line of laughing about something that's edgy. But not really falling down on the side of saying anything hugely controversial to the point of sickening people. No, I don't want to do that. But funny because it's edgy. That's I quite like that. So I'm quite happy to do it. And I think if we tread that line enough, eventually we might slip over into what's it called? Bad taste. Let's try and just not slip over to bad taste every now and then. Maybe. Who knows? It might provide some views on the old YouTube. Who knows? I was watching some things this week, and I was watching somebody, and I realised, I was like, how come they're talking about this topic when last week they were talking about this other topic? And I had a little look, and it was like, oh, that's top trending. It's top trending, isn't it? So it's unlikely that mental health how to challenge mental health discrimination will be next week's top trending when I'm talking about it. That's unlikely. And if anything does hit top trending, then I'm unlikely to gather my thoughts and organise my show in the time it takes to hit that trend. But, you know, some people are right on that. That's not what we're here for. You don't want to hear about random top trending things. You don't want to hear that. Well, you do, because that's what people do. I don't know. I'll tell you before I go, here we go. This is 2 big questions I wanted to ask you. Big questions. You don't have to answer them now. You can put them in the comments of the videos, or you can put them in your chat. You know, you can think about it over time. You can, any comments of any videos, anywhere, doesn't matter. Just not obviously my videos, not just any videos. That wouldn't work, would it? You know, if you're just watching like wrestling and you put your comment in, oh, I'd like this. No, it has to be my videos. But any of my videos are videos on Ganji Kid Stream, on Ganji Kid Show. Anyway, I'd like for you to think about what would be your ideal podcast guest. Who, maybe a list, 3 or 4, 5. They don't even have to be, you can be as, reach for the stars. You know, I don't care. Put Jeff Bezos if you want to see Jeff Bezos. I'm not going to get Jeff Bezos. He's not going to agree to come and sit here and talk to me. That's probably certain. Probably. I mean, he does run Amazon, and this is Twitch, and it is on Amazon. He might be watching now and listening. He might agree. I could ask him. Probably not. But I'm not going to ask all the people you suggest unless they're realistic. On the other hand, they'll give me a good gauge of what sort of thing you know, like if I said, oh, look, these people all seem to be talking about this sort of thing, and this person that I can get as a guest will talk about something similar. Do you know what I mean? I can get a good gauge of the style and the range. So at any point between now and however long it takes, on any of these videos on Ganji Kid YouTube stream, on any of them there, probably on the most recent one that you watch, whichever one you watch, just let me know who would you like to see sat in the chairs, sat on the sofa. Who would you like? Who would be your ideals? Who would be the best ones? Who would you not like to see? Who would be bad? Who would you think, oh, well, that's a bad one, because that could be a long list, couldn't it? Here's another question that goes with this question. Joe Rogan has often said he gives anyone the opportunity to speak because he wants to hear varied opinions. Now, I understand that as a concept, but I personally don't want to platform things that I feel strongly against. So I'm not looking to do that. And I don't want to turn this into like an argument debate show. I don't want to have someone here who makes me cross and I have to have an argument with. That would be a no-no for me, just purely for how it makes me feel. But I understand that could be considered journalism, or it could be considered, you know, maybe I do want like Nadeem Sahawi to come and answer questions here. You know, maybe I do want that. I don't know. So get a butcher on. you see what I mean? There you go. Like, it might make for a really interesting conversation. So I'm open to it as a concept, but it's not really what I want personally. Was there a question attached to that? What kind of people do you want on? That was the question. What kind of people do you want on? Oh yeah, and that was it. Do you agree with the concept that, in general, would you like to see controversy? Would you like to see arguments and discussions and debates? Or do you agree with me that I want to keep it as a... Because what I think is it has been known to sell, hasn't it? I know local townspeople, again, I'm thinking of exploiting the fact that I've got an interesting, varied populace in our local town. And the more local they are, the better, because like they can come and sit in the chair easier. But I'm also thinking longer term that I'm quite prepared to spend whatever, it needs to be sustainable, obviously. The village. That's me. I'm the village. I have to interview myself. It needs to be sustainable, so obviously I can't spend more than we make. But I would like there to be some sort of thing where I can say, look, hello, I am Scotty Podcast. Would you like to come and sit in the chair? We pay for your fuel. And they'd have to not come from America because the fuel for the plane is quite expensive. But, in the longer term, even if we've got a bigger budget, whatever, we pay for your fuel. We'll pay for your hotel or whatever it is, the necessary things that you pay for a guest, and a little bit of money like payment, so you can say you're getting paid to do the podcast. Like a guest might. I said before, like if you were a stand-up comedian on telly, you'd expect to be paid for your... Now, it can't be a lot of money because I don't have a lot of money. So to start with, it's not going to be like we're big fees and attracting big artists. But eventually, I'd like to be able to offer that. So the sky can be the limit in a way. We can say like, okay, not every week can be a big... I can't get Lady Gaga every week. But we might set a target goal or a funding. Maybe I could talk to Lady Gaga's agent, find out what the price for Lady Gaga is, and then we can say that's the target goal, and we can get her on if we hit the goal. Do you know what I mean? So like there are ways to get these things done. So it's just an open book at the moment. And at the moment, I'm just going to go through the process of talking to local, like you say, local people, friends really, family and friends, on camera, whoever's going to be happy to do it. Some might have interesting things to say. Some might have interesting stories to tell in context, but they're not going to be paid guests, and it's not going to be the direction and tone. That's going to be for us to choose when we get to the position of being able to say, because you can choose just by asking people. I'm going to talk to the people at Warwick. The university up the road have got an esports centre, and I think it's a really interesting thing, and I'd like someone that represents them to come and sit here and tell us all about the esports, all about the facility, all about the different things. That sounds like a fun episode. So we'll get that on the go. But I don't imagine I'll have to pay them other than I want to offer them transport, because it seems unfair to say to them, would you like to get the train to come and see me? And incidentally, it costs £4.50 or whatever, £10, £12, whatever it costs. I'll pay your train. I'll do your lunch. You just come and talk to us, yeah. Just paying the train fare, that's fine for someone that comes from the university up the road, but it's not fine if you're Lady Gaga, is it? So somewhere in the middle of that spectrum, we'll start off at this end. We'll move our way through the spectrum up a little bit. I don't expect to hit Lady Gaga. I don't expect to be able to book like Michael Jackson, but I will send the email. I will find out. I will open that door or try and but you never know. I went to see Method Man and Redman in tour in Oxford, of all places, in the UK, and I thought I'd never imagined they'd come to Oxford in the UK and play this little university Oxford gig. But that was really good. It was really good fun. So who knows? If I'd asked them, they might have come and done a podcast. They might have done. You just ask people, don't you? They might like the idea. Offer an interview to people who want to promote something beneficial. Interesting concept. I get this is worth talking about. Absolutely worth talking about this. I completely understand that people will want to sit here if they've got something to sell or promote, and I completely understand that's part of the gig, isn't it? Like when you watch those Letterman show and people like that, it's like, oh, come and tell us about your new film and new book. And of course, Tom Cruise or whoever is not going to go and sit on the show for no reason. They're not just, oh, I'm bored this week, I'll come on your show. It's like, I'm doing all the shows because I'm promoting my book. So yeah, I think that's not bad. People who are like you say, who have something beneficial to offer, no problem platforming them. But also, there's a slight edge of it where even the vegan people are a bit, some of them are a bit like more interested in becoming famous and are using veganism as a tool because animal rights gets a lot of clicks or whatever. Like, I don't necessarily want to open the door to every Tom, Dick and Harry to hawk their thing on the podcast, and I want to be careful to curate our conversations so that they're not advertisements for you, because it's great that somebody has this spiel that they've like are used to spieling off, and at the end of it they've got their book, like that's good for them. But that podcast is the same podcast when they go on a different podcast. They just do the same marketing tools, talk about what they talk about. I could only use them if I could get them to talk deeply about subjects that weren't just marketing, weren't replicable marketing speak. Because otherwise the podcast would just be a long advert that they would give to another podcast. I understand that some podcasters are interested in unique quality to their content. So, one of those guys who rides seaboats and actually, yeah, they'd be really good. And I do know a couple of those. I have met a couple of those. When I say know them, I've been to enough vegan events where I'm like, oh, hi, you again. Because they're the people that do the stand. So I don't know if they'd recognise me. I'd probably, that fella with the camera, they might say. So, but I know a couple of them who are in the sea, what do they call it? Sea Shepherds. And they're always at the vegan events. So I always like to go and say hello. But I don't know them. I know them from that little contact I have from that sort of thing. But no, I know them well enough to be able to say, would you like to come on a podcast? Easily, yeah. So we could try that. That's a good one. And yeah, I'd be happy for them to promote their thing. That's on the, you see the spectrum. I'd be happy for them to promote their thing to the ends of the earth. But at the other end of the spectrum, someone who is like trying to become a TV personality through activism, I would not be so happy about. But, who am I to judge, really? At the early stages, I should just be interview the chuffers that won't let doggy run in. Yeah. In the early stages, I'd just be happy to get people sitting here. So maybe I can't. The other thing I talked about before is wanting to vet people, like, what are your stories? What are you going to say? Can I research that? Is it true? I want to make sure there's authenticity. And, I'm the newsgate, essentially. So I want to make sure that I'm not allowing them to spread spurious lies. But again, that's difficult, isn't it? Especially in the early stages when it's just me. Who knows? Hopefully we'll just get nice people who say nice things. But yeah, this is the whole world of what's going to happen next. So that is an open book. I hope that we'll be able to start some interesting conversations, to have some interesting conversations, and that those interesting conversations of that media product will start to draw more attention, get more views, because it has value, because it's a podcast, because people like that sort of thing. And through that, we can then attract even more interesting and diverse people to sit and tell us stories. That's what I hope. So, if you get any other ideas, there's a couple making a game where your cats. Okay, we can have them. Yeah, anyone that's making any sort of computer games, absolutely. Absolutely would love to have them sitting here. It seems like a good regular fix, that does. And yeah, we'll get onto that. Of course, it's a big step, but we're getting onto that. If you have any other ideas, put them in the comments. Let me know. I'm interested to hear them. It's all through your input, through your support, directly financially, but also through the enthusiasm. And before we finish tonight, I should have said this at the start. I'll edit it onto the start of the episode, or should I? Because this is Mental Health Monday. I'll just say it at the start of the next episode as well. Capital K, Captain K, Crunchy K, King K has not been in chat with us the last couple of things, but we're thinking about him. I'm thinking about him, and I hope everything's going well for him. Don't worry about being in chat, Capital K. It's here for you when you want to talk, and if you're busy, that's fine. Don't feel obligated, but just know that we're thinking about you and that we miss you, Cap K. Yeah, we miss you, Kappa K. And I hope that the absence is through your own positive life endeavours, work being positive, things happening, having fun, and not through anything negative. I hope that. I wish that for you. I should say at the start of a broadcast so that he might hear it, because he's probably not going to watch this entire. What are we at now? 2 hours coming up. So if you do watch this all the way to the end, then you'll get to the call to action where I want to find out about the podcast. Should have done that at the start as well, shouldn't I? All right, we'll talk about it again, I'm sure. You be good, my little Pukos. You be good. And I'm off to go and walk the doggy and ask him who he thinks he would like to see sitting. I'd like to see him sitting on that little sofa more often, to be honest. I'd like to see the little doggy sitting on that sofa more often. So we're going to get that going as well. The doggy loves the carpet. I'll tell you that. The doggy loves the carpet. They just don't like me, I guess. So you be good, my little Pukos. You be good. And if you can't be good, then we're going to force you to be in the government and to make all the bad choices. Right.